Sunday Girl, it's BBC Radio Sheffield. You listen to Forward. And on a Wednesday, we like to get a bit creative.
BBC Radio Sheffield.
Creative Lives, supporting and encouraging people to be creative every day.
I'm going for a little trot today. We are going over to Stocksbridge this week because, well, I don't know how to put this. Dan, maybe you can help me with this before I've even introduced you. Do we enter the dragon? Does the dragon enter, or how does it work?
We are restoring the dragon.
Here we go.
We're bringing the dragon back.
There
Enter
we
the dragon.
go. Yes, thank you very much for bringing the dragon. I've got Tom and Andrew Vickers and Dan Cunningham with me, and they're going to tell me a bit more about the Dragon of Wantley. They're all in the studio, so hopefully we'll get to the bottom of this at some point this afternoon. I'm going to start with you then, Dan. How comes you're a part of this project? What are you up to with this?
So this is a project that's been quite close to my heart. I were involved in a 600th year celebration of the Dragon of Wantley story being written when I were in infant school, 4 or 5 years old, and we put on a play out in open somewhere in wilderness that I couldn't remember where it was, and we told the story of the Dragon of Wantley.
Which is, what's the story of the Dragon of Wantley? Will it be scared, Dan?
No, I don't think it's too scary. Okay, so a quick version is there was a dragon living at Wantley, which is now the village of Wortley, and it flew over the valleys of Wantley Side and Stocksbridge, and it terrorised all locals, and the locals were very frightened. They had a lot of problems until a night Thomas More came along, and he said, in exchange for some land, a manor house and a set of armour, I will kill the dragon for you.
He didn't want much, did he?
Well, it was a small price to pay for so he donned his suit of Sheffield steel armour, went along and kicked the dragon up the bottom, so the story goes.
Right.
And that was it. And that's where the name More Hall comes from. The More Hall Reservoir is apparently named after Sir Thomas More. And up on the Warncliffe Crags there is the Dragon's Den cave that's up there, and it all related to the story of the dragon.
Nice. So we wanted to bring the dragon back then. Enter Andrew Vickers.
And
I got like a dragon.
I got a lot less than that for carving it, I'm going to tell you. I think we undersold ourselves, I'll be honest.
You could have got at least a car out of it, I think.
You live in a better house than he got.
Well, there you go. That's not bad at all. So, Andrew, what are you doing then to stay with this story, this beautiful legend of Wortley? It is, isn't it, Wortley?
Yeah, the dragon was from Wantley, as it went on.
Wantley.
But he terrorised the valleys of Stocksbridge and Wantley Side.
All right.
So it's a sculpture that existed. Don't laugh. I'm trying to be serious.
You're starting it. It weren't me.
This is serious bizzo.
I'm trying to be serious.
Yeah.
It's a sculpture that existed, and it was a wooden head. The dragon's head was a wooden head, and it died. All wooden sculptures just disintegrate, and so they made the decision to have a stone dragon's head carved. Enter the dragon.
Oh, you.
Yeah.
So is this the head that I've seen you with on Instagram then, with teeth? It's got teeth.
Do you like it?
I loved it.
Thank you.
I won't mind it in my garden, but it'd be too big for my garden, wouldn't it, that?
Oh, we'd make it
Listen,
work. Don't worry. Don't you worry.
We'll do you a deal on it, because he's
here
not
we
gone
go.
yet.
You'll get yourself into trouble and me as well. So, Tom, what's been your role in this?
Keeping me sane.
Try to keep it all together. So promotional side from our perspective, so getting schools involved, getting people involved, letting people know that the Dragon of Wantley is being restored, so everyone in Stocksbridge can go and enjoy the sculpture once again.
How have the schools been involved then in this?
So far we've had Wantliffe Side Primary School come out to visit us, see sculpture being carved. They've had a wander out Woodland Gallery, and then they're hosting an assembly at their school, which we're invited to, which will be all about the Dragon of Wantley and the creation of it. And then once the sculpture's fully fitted in position, they're going to take all the school up there, have a wander around actual site where dragon sculpture is, and get a bit of fresh air.
Nice.
And
Children love that.
It's actually the original sculpture is really well known in that area, and I'm so, this is me being humble, so proud that they chose me to do it because it is so well thought of.
Yeah.
So it is, although I'm not very sensible, it's a big responsibility.
Yeah,
So
it's a real honour.
And did you have to? Well, I'll ask Dan. Was it important to copy the wooden version then, or do you wanted something fresh?
No. So I've always had the vision that the sculpture that Andrew and Tom were going to do was unique to them. The wooden one would have been almost one of the things Andrew told me, because obviously expert in stone. To recreate the wooden one in stone was not practical.
Right.
So it always had to be a new design. But I understand that they've based it on 3 different types. So they've took inspiration from the wooden version that was there before, the original artwork, and some inspiration from Andrew's own mind.
Wonderful.
Can I just mention one thing about the school? So the
Well, do you want to say that afterwards? I'll be
sorry.
Have a drink, wet your whistle, and we'll come back and talk about this, because it is really interesting. Dan Cunningham, Tom and Andrew Vickers telling us about the Dragon of Wantley. We're going to talk a bit more about it and find out when we can actually lay our eyes on it as well, because I want to know when I can see it, man. This is Ariana Grande, yes, and BBC Radio Sheffield. You're listening to Paulette. I've got a studio full today of lovely fellas, actually. Tom and Andrew Vickers and Dan Cunningham talking about the Dragon of Wantley, and how... Well, it was you, Dan, that actually thought, I don't want this story to go. I heard it when I was 5. In Stocksbridge you were raised, weren't you?
Yeah. So I were at Stocksbridge Infant School.
Yeah, and what are you doing now then? What are you? Because you're a pivotal member of the Stocksbridge Society, I understand.
A little. I work for John Crawshaw's Butchers. Do a bit, all sorts for them.
So how did a butcher then come to this? You said it was due to the story when you were 5, wanting to hold on to that story, wanting Stocksbridge to hold on to that story.
Yeah, so
what did you do then to make sure that happened?
Yeah, so as both my children have gone through school, I realised that this local legend and many others are no longer getting taught in schools, and that concerned me somewhat, because the local history is as important, in my opinion, as national history, and I didn't want that to die. And when it came to my attention that the original wooden head sculpture was dilapidated, it's a complete write-off now, it's completely rotten, I thought, I'm going to chase up and find out who put it there in the first place, and who's responsible for replacing it.
So who did put it there in the first place then?
I'm not really sure. It's certainly a lot to do with Woodland Trust. So they acquired the woodland in 2000, and the sculpture were put in there early to mid 2000s. And from there, that was my first port of call, chasing up the Woodland Trust, Forestry Commission, Steel Valley Project, and I didn't get any success, any feedback, even an email saying, sorry, I can't help you back. And that's when I turned to my local MP and I said, I need some weight behind my voice. I need some assistance, please.
And you got it.
Yeah. And then it's surprising how once you involve a person in that position, how quickly things then start to move. So
it is really interesting, isn't it? At what point did you approach Andrew and Tom Vickers then? Done.
Well, it seemed a very smooth process to start with. So I got put in contact with James Jesson of the Woodland Trust. He's a manager for the Woodland Trust for the north of England, and he actually came out to see me, which I was quite pleased about. Were
you surprised at that as well? I would have been surprised.
I thought I'd have just got an email back saying we can't do it about it, but he actually come to see me, and we went to site together, and I mentioned to local community via Facebook, because I've got a YouTube channel and I've got a Facebook group and stuff like that, and I mentioned that I were pursuing this restoration, and it got quite a bit of traction. It got quite a lot of following, and of the people who'd seen it, I think the initial post got 6,000-7,000 views, number of shares, hundreds of likes, saying thank you for what you're doing. And the one name that kept recurring, and you've got to get Stoneface to do it. You've got to get it done.
That Andrew Vickers from Stone.
What we don't want, what we don't want,
always cheerful,
is another wooden one put it in, and in 15-20 years' time, that rots away again, and someone then doesn't take action. So that's when I started pursuing kind of, can we raise enough money to get it done in stone.
And how did you go about raising funds then? Because we know that he's not. He says he's cheap, but
Beg, borrowed, steal.
You're harsh,
You know,
Paul.
cut
I never say a
a
bad
few
word to
backdoor
you.
deals. You know how it goes.
Put in a few favours. When you got this project, how did you feel about it? Because you've done lots of great things, but this is specific to the area you're living, isn't it? This is special.
I love these projects because they've actually got a meaning to them. If you read the comments when we post a post about it, and you read the comments about how dear it is to people, it's so important to me that connection. It makes it feel that it's worth doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just really nice.
Look, that heart project, isn't it,
Yeah.
really? And before we went to the music, you were going to tell me something, and I gave you the opportunity to take your breath. This is to do with children in the schools then, being a part of this. I've read actually that it weighs the same as 800,000 jelly babies, 20,000 golf balls, 60,000 CDs.
Who's done that?
I don't know who's done the maths here, but it's not me, clearly not me. 900 kilograms, that's heavy.
Can I have some jelly babies? I like
I
them.
love some. I'll bring some in next time.
Having seen the final work, or what's very close to the final work, yes, it's a substantial piece of stone, and it'll sit very well at the head of the valley that it overlooks.
Yeah, special, isn't it? And for you then, how did you go about pulling all these things together? The image, the wooden head that was already there, your imagination, Andrew?
No disrespect to the head that was there. That played a part, and it's been very well received, and it's gone now. I just imagine. I love dragons. I love the idea of dragons. They're not nasty creatures. They're nice creatures. I just read this story about this because it's sort of a dragon, but it's not actually a dragon if you read the story.
Yeah.
There's been a play about it apparently, and it was a really good guy who saved villagers from a tyrant landlord, basically.
Right.
So I really like this story. It's like little person,
Yeah, a bit of
beating-
politics in there.
and so I just played with that, really.
Yeah, sounds good. So when do we get to see it then, Dan? When can I come and see it? Are you going to have an opening ceremony, a launch?
Yeah, so the plan is we've got to get it installed first, due to where it is and how boggy the track up to it is. We're working on a date when we can get it installed. That's not settled yet because it's if we said what we're looking at is we're looking at a window, and if it's good weather within that window, we're going to get it up there.
Right, 'cause it's been very wet down
Yeah,
here,
exactly.
hasn't it?
And it's up an exceptionally steep track where we need to take it. So we don't have a date for installation, but then after that, that's when we're going to continue to work with schools, and hopefully going to get like we were took up there when we were 5, get some infant schools to bring some groups of children and have a day. But that's all. It's been such a long process getting to where we are now. We don't want to rush the final part. So sadly, there's no. But by end of this year, I'm confident that people will be able to go and see it. It'll be by end of this year, by end of summer. Because if we get back into winter, it will have to be delayed till
for another year.
Yeah.
Well, this is exciting, actually. Dan, Tom, and Andrew, thank you so much for joining us on BBC Radio Sheffield. I am really looking forward to seeing that dragon.
Thank you. You've been really kind again.
I am
Thank
really
you.
kind.
Except off air, then you're really
Have you heard him,
cutting.
Dan? This is shocking.
Terrible.
Isn't it? Oh, Tom, you know that I'm kind all the time, don't you?
No comment.
Praise or grumble.
It's a massive praise.
Paulette Edwards.
BBC Radio Sheffield.
Oh, Dan, before you go, we've got a little message, if you don't mind. We're talking about this lovely dragon that's going to be put up to commemorate a dragon, a story based on a dragon in that area. So we've got a message here that says, hi, Paulette, Dan is our butcher and he has been so helpful and supportive of our small business. Such a genuinely nice guy. And always helps if he can. This is a great story. Nice to hear. That's from Anna and Andy at the little bakery in Thilston.
Yeah.
Do they do good cakes then? Do you get a couple of cakes when you go as well?
The Scotch egg is a particular favourite of mine from there.
Oh, there you go. Tom, Andy and Dan, thank you so much. It's been great.
Thank you.
Been really good. Thank you.